just because we actually absorb red meat very well. And so it's just like, if you're just eating a lot of red meat, like things don't really come out. And you're like, oh, I must be constipated, because if it doesn't come out, then that means it's, stuck somewhere. That's what people think. But if you're on a carnivore diet, you're not going to get constipated unless you're not eating enough fat. That's what I found. Do you think different forms of carnivore could help heal type 1 diabetes and Dupuytren's contracture? So Deanna has a question. Genuine question on carnivore diet. If plants are bad, then why do almost all medications come from plants or plant compounds? This crossed my mind a few days ago, and I'd love to understand more. Good question. The answer is that we use things medicinally that we wouldn't use normally. We don't use antibiotics for normal daily health. We use that for certain specific circumstances where we want to attack something else that's attacking us, or to have something happen that we don't necessarily need to happen every day. So we don't need antibiotics every day because we're not fighting off an infection every day. Our body can fight off that for us. When a bacteria gets sort of overwhelms our system, then we might need some antibiotics to help fight those off. But they're actually not good for you if you just take them every day. So a medicine is just a poison that does more good than harm under certain circumstances. But methotrexate is useful in a lot of different disease processes, but it will absolutely shred your body to pieces in the act. And so you certainly don't want to have that when you're not treating the problem that when you're not treating a problem that goes with that. So you're not getting, you're getting you sort of getting good with the bad when you're using something as a medicine. But when it's when you don't have that benefit, then you're only getting the bad. So that's the deal with plants, is that it has these poisons in them that cause harm. But in some cases, those things like like digitalis that comes from foxglove, you get too much of that, you're dead. You have your heart just stops, right? And so that's not good. But in cases of heart failure, that can actually be better. It can help your heart beat stronger. So that's a benefit in those cases in very select and specific doses. So that's the answer to that. Oh, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. So Luis wants me to talk about meat variety and grass-fed versus grain-fed. His wife and he are on a budget, so limited. Is variety and grain-fed fine? Yeah, grain-fed is fine. I mostly eat grain-fed. I think grass-fed, the healthier the animal is, the healthier, more nutrients it's going to have in it. I think that difference is not really appreciable when you're talking about the grand scheme of things in the diet. So I think of it sort of as I've sort of used this analogy before, but it's like getting gold and silver at the Olympics, right? Gold medal, beat everyone. Silver medal lost to gold, but silver also beat everything else on earth. So that's what I think about with grain fed. So I mostly do grain fed. If I can get grass fed, I prefer it, but it's totally fine. Just eat grain fed, and grass fed stuff is can be a lot more expensive. It can be prohibitively expensive. So don't break the bank just chasing gold. Okay, silver is just fine. Let me ask, do you think different forms of carnivore could help heal type 1 diabetes and Dupuytren's contracture? Dupuytren's contracture, not too convinced on that. That's just like sort of scarring of your tendon, from different things. But I would hesitate to guess if that's gonna get better just with dietary changes, but it wouldn't get worse anyway, which is a good thing. It's a start anyway. Type 1 diabetes will certainly get helped on a carnivore diet. That's actually what we used to treat type 1 and type 2 diabetics for decades. Was a ketogenic diet, which is what a carnivore diet is. And there are animal models that look at fasting and a ketogenic diet, or fasting mimicking diet, as they call it, and type 1 diabetes. And they found that the mice can actually regrow the areas of their pancreas called the beta islet cells that actually create insulin. So that's actually pretty good. And oh, I hate this when it skips around. So Tommy asks, I had an incomplete spinal cord injury 15 years ago. Anything else besides carnivore that will help with recovery or new cell growth? We don't have too much in the way of technology that will help that. There are some interesting things being done that they're trying to use electrodes that will sort of bridge that gap between like spinal cord injuries. It's it's still in the infancy stage. Maybe one day we will be able to do that. But at the moment, it's not. There's nothing on the market anyway that I know of. So I think just do the best you can and be as healthy as you can, and that's going to get you a lot further than other places. But I would start with that anyway. So there's a question. So Charger Mopar says, question, as a 39-year meat-based eater, I have never experienced constipation. Why do people think that eating red meat is going to cause constipation? I don't know where that came from originally, but I mean, it's, like in the 1980s, everyone was getting constipated because they stopped eating fat. And then they said, oh, you have to eat a bunch of fiber. And I think it's probably just because we actually absorb red meat very well. And so it's just like, if you're just eating a lot of red meat, like things don't really come out. And you're like, oh, I must be constipated, because if it doesn't come out, then that means it's, stuck somewhere. That's what people think. So that's wrong. But but if you're on a carnivore diet, you're not going to get constipated unless you're not eating enough fat. That's what I found. So thoughts on using certain plant extracts and concentrate as medicine. I think I know what you're going to say, but I heard Bart Case saying it can be useful. What is your take on it? So I sort of answered a similar question earlier. I mean, things can be used medicinally, and a medicine can be helpful in certain circumstances. But the difference between allopathic medicine and like naturopathic medicine is that, you use like the plant in naturopathy, which they say, well, maybe there's things in there that are working synergistically with, the part that you're looking for, like the digitalis, digoxin in foxglove, that makes it work better. Okay, but you need to show what those are, and if you can show what those are, then you can put them together and have them work together synergistically, and you can get the doses right. Because if you're just giving someone a plant, you don't know how much is there. You don't know what conditions it needs to be grown in. You don't know what conditions it needs to be kept in. You don't know exactly what dose you're getting. And it comes with all the other thousands and thousands of things in there as well that you don't want, that could cause harm. So, yes, things can be used medicinally, but it's better to actually use things that have been isolated and carefully controlled. All right. So I'm just going to do some of the questions that have been submitted. This question is from Evie May. It seems like I read a post somewhere that said you have to make sure your anesthesiologist knows you are a carnivore before going into surgery. Is that correct? I may have to have rotator cuff surgery. No, I've never heard that. And, I just had surgery on my knee to clear out some loose cartilage, and I didn't say a word, and it just, didn't come up. So no, that doesn't matter. What does matter is if you're eating things that can interfere with medication, like, grapefruit juice. Grapefruit juice has furanocoumarins that are toxic, and your body has to clear them with our cytochrome P450 enzymes in your liver. And you can use a lot of those up, and then they aren't there to process and metabolize the different medications that we give to people sometimes. And so they work differently. And sometimes they get, they stop being useful, or they become toxic. You get toxic levels of these things. So that's a thing. But eating carnivore, no, that's not a thing. It's just people trying to scare you. So don't worry about that. Ray asks, I have done some reading on how poor nutrition, mainly from agricultural and processed food revolutions, stunted people's jaw development, leading to malocclusion, jaw problems, and deviated septums, all of which I am now trying to get fixed to improve my health alongside carnivore. I remember Dr. Chaffee mentioned tongue ties at some point as part of this, and I actually had mine released earlier this year. Would love some discussion on this. Maybe a good idea for a future post or podcast. Yeah, so tongue ties are something that I've learned about more recently, being associated with or attributed to poor nutrition early on, and so that's seen an increase in tongue ties, which can be very, very detrimental to a child's development. That's when the was it that the frenulum, I think, underneath the tongue is sort of stuck down, so they can't really lift their tongue up, and they can't speak properly, they can't pronounce words properly, they can't nurse properly, they can't do all sorts of things, and so you have to, depending on how bad it is, you need to get it released early on, and it's becoming a growing problem apparently. So I don't know too much about that, but there are other people that do. That I know some people that have worked with that specifically, and they said that this is going up and up and up, and it has been shown to be caused by eating the wrong thing and not having proper mouth development, chewing on the right things, and things like that have to do with jaw and teeth development as well as just the nutrition that you're getting in. But yeah, after the agricultural revolution, the fossil record is very clear that our jaws became smaller, our teeth became more crowded. They had a lot of cavities and plaque and tartar and decay. You did not see that before then. Think of animal teeth. They're just white or maybe a bit yellowed, but they're healthy and they don't have gum disease and they don't have tooth decay and things like that. They never brush their teeth. How unnatural is brushing your teeth? I'm all for brushing your teeth. Don't get me wrong. I brush my teeth every day, but this isn't something that's normal in the wild, right? So our microbiome, our oral biome, and our physiology protect our teeth from just rotting and decaying. So if your teeth are going to rot and decay, that means something's going wrong. You're eating something that you shouldn't. You're sick. There's something happening that's bad, right? Because that you lose your teeth in the wild, you're done. You can't eat. You're dead, right? I mean, we see that now. You have to have dentures. And, those don't just show up out of nowhere. So if animals were doing this, they'd just be dying out, within a few years of life. And that's obviously not going to happen, not going to work. Oh, well, thank you very much, Mike, for that. So yes, 26, under 15% body fat, train 5 to 6 days a week, high intensity interval training. Have had higher blood pressure since I was 14 on blood pressure medication. Standard dose is 150 and low BP. Yeah, okay. And should I ditch the medication? Carnivore for 6 months, no issues with kidney or heart, etc. You probably can. Look, there are other causes of high blood pressure that you need to get checked out. If you're having high blood pressure at 14, that suggests that you're in that category of, you have things like pheochromocytomas that they're just pumping out adrenaline, and you'll just have really high blood pressure. It's generally not that well able to be controlled, but it's something that needs to be checked out. And so going carnivore will help a lot of the causes of high blood pressure, but there are others that you need to get checked out. So see your doctor, talk to them, make sure that you've been checked for all the weird, wild, wonderful causes of high blood pressure, which getting high blood pressure at 14 is makes me very suspicious that you're in that category, or that you're just very sensitive to carbohydrates, because carbohydrates raise your insulin, you get insulin insensitivity, and then you get issues with your blood pressure. That's one of the early signs of insulin resistance, and so you get problems with your blood pressure. Not everyone does, but it's a very common cause of that, because insulin can help with the relaxation of your arteries. And when they become insensitive to that, then they don't respond. And so they just stay tight and closed, and you get high blood pressure. So being on a carnivore diet or even just keto diet for 3 to 6 months can certainly help that. 130, you're sort of, in the good range, but you're sort of at the upper end of the good range. You can try coming off of it. But I would definitely check for those things first, and check for those causes of high blood pressure, and just see your doctor about that. And then after that, you can try coming off of it, and see what your blood pressure does. I would check your blood pressure at sort of the same time of day and same conditions every day, and just keep a track, keep a log, and then you'll be able to see. Okay. So from Ray, oh no, sorry, we already did that one. And from Kim, I've been trying to gain extra weight and build muscle, so I've added lunch each day. Okay. I had been eating a large breakfast and evening meal for the past 18 months. Would you agree with this, or is it healthier to eat twice per day? I think you eat as much as your body's asking you to eat. I think it's good to eat until you're full. I tend to get a bit lethargic if I eat until I'm full. And so for me, that works better if I do that later in the day, or even at night. And then I just tired and I just want to go to sleep. If I do that during the working day, it's difficult because, I need to work and I can't go to sleep. So just play with it. But if you're finding you're eating sort of like 3 smaller meals throughout the day, for me, it's, I tend to just eat like a big meal until like I'm full and meat doesn't taste good anymore, and I naturally want to stop. Um, and so I think that's a good way of doing it. Quite often, if you're getting fatty enough meat and you're eating until you're satiated, you don't need to eat more than once a day. If you're working out a lot, that will probably increase. I find that if I'm working out heavily, I'll do that twice a day. Sort of eat a lot twice a day, but just be mindful that you might get a bit lethargic. And so if you're doing that right at the beginning of the day, that might be holding you back a bit with your energy levels. But just play with it. But I would definitely eat until meat just does not taste good anymore at night, and then see how you go throughout the day. And then sometimes if you eat just sort of smaller meals in the day that you're not quite getting to the point that you're really exhausted, then you can have more energy during the day. John asks, speaking of isolation, any chance of having Tim Noakes on your channel? He seems to be more meat heavy lately, still keto though. He has interesting takes on isolation as well. I think Professor Noakes is amazing. I absolutely love that guy. I would love to have him on. I've been meaning to sort of ask him at some point, but I've just been absolutely slammed of speaking at different couple different conferences, and then doing some big presentations for my department, and which is pretty exciting. We're going to get some new research going on cancer, and doing dietary measures of adding on as an adjunct to brain cancers, which is actually great work. So I'll be working with Professor Thomas Seyfried over at Boston College and some of his colleagues there, as well as other doctors in New Zealand, Matthew Phillips, and others as well, and then trying to get a study trial going here at my department. So I just haven't been able to get on all the people that I want. I've been able to do great interviews with people like Nina Teicholz, who was amazing, and absolutely love talking to her, and Sally Norton I just spoke to, and a lot of others that are in pipeline. Dr. Gabor Solmalai, who's an expert in deuterium, which is super interesting, something I didn't really know about. So it was fun to pick his brain on that. And then and others. So those will be coming out. But yeah, I definitely plan on having Tim Noakes on if he'll, if he's interested in coming on. So sorry, let's see, read one of these. So they ask, I'm 45-year-old female, carnivore for 7 months. I started to add butter to my meat and chicken because I never felt like I am super full. Now I'm gaining weight. I see more fat on me. Stop the butter. I mean, you may have a problem with dairy. Some people do, and sometimes that's expressed as weight gain. So you can try that. Fat is really good for you, though. It's not the fat that's the problem. It would be, the problem with the milk proteins that would be causing an issue, because fat is actually very, very beneficial, and it triggers the release of fat in your fat cells as opposed to the deposition of fat in your fat cells. So I would still try to eat until you're full. Still try to get a good fat content, but you can try eating fatty meat and just doing it that way, or supplementing with like beef tallow, grass-fed beef tallow instead of butter, and see how you go, because it could be that you're reacting to the milk proteins. Let's see. Okay, another question from Kim. Can you talk about folate again and maybe go deeper into explaining folate levels in blood, B12, etc.? Also, the intrinsic factor in digestive enzymes, the intrinsic factor in the digestive system. Sorry. Ugh. I assume carnivore will improve and possibly reverse issues. Well, it'll do a lot for that. It will allow your body to absorb a lot more things. You're not bringing in like the anti-nutrients and the different protease inhibitors and things like that come in plants. So your body's going to actually absorb what you need. Intrinsic factor is released in your stomach, and that's what binds to B12 and allows your stomach to absorb it. If you don't have intrinsic factor, then you can't absorb B12. And even though you're getting a lot of B12 in your diet, you're still going to get pernicious anemia. And so that's something to know about. Generally, that's not a problem unless you've had some sort of like infection or surgery that has removed that part of your body. And then you can't absorb B12, and you have to get B12 shots for the rest of your life, which is pretty tough. But folate testing is a bit difficult because the serum levels aren't very accurate. And so you really have to check your red blood cell, your erythrocyte folate levels, because that's where it's active. It's active in the cell. And so you want to check the levels in the cell. We think there's, if it's this level in the serum, then that equates to this level in the cells, but not always. Some things you can test like that, and it's fairly accurate, like sodium or potassium. But other things, not so much. And folate's one of them. Magnesium is also one of them, as well as zinc. You want to check the erythrocyte or red blood cell, RBC, zinc, magnesium, folate, to get an accurate reading on that. And also, whenever you're taking lab tests, you need to do it in a consistent manner. The best thing to do is have the same time of day, same fasting status, same hydration level, right? So what we recommend in our clinic is first thing in the morning, sort of between 9 and 11 in the morning, fasting, don't eat anything that morning, and probably don't eat anything after 10 o'clock the night before, and then drink at least 2 glasses of water and no more than 4 glasses of water. Okay, so you're having consistent hydration, fasting, and timing. That's going to give you more accurate tests. And a test is only as good as a retest. You get one test and you go, oh my goodness, this thing's off, or this thing's whatever. Well, it could be just a glitch. It could be something just weird that day. So in 6 to 8 weeks, you get a test again and you check it again. If everything's accurate, or everything's consistent, well, then you have pretty good basis for saying that's what your levels are. So I would do it that way. And then you obviously have to look at how you're doing these tests as well, because people just check for folate, they don't realize you need to check it in the cells. So Raymond, thank you very much for the super chat. Says Dr. Smith says you need some soluble fiber to get rid of bile, and that is the reason why long-term carnivore will not work. What is your take on that? I think that he is assuming a fact that's not in evidence, as they say in law. Why do we need to get rid of bile? I mean, he's saying that we need soluble fiber to get rid of bile. Okay, well, soluble fiber does bind bile, and it will get rid of it. Why do we need to get rid of bile? Bile is not a waste product. But your body makes bile on purpose. It expends energy and nutrition and resources to make bile. So why are we just assuming that that bile is bad for us? The reason that people said that you should eat fiber to bind bile and to get rid of bile is because cholesterol is used in bile. Cholesterol is used in a lot of things. Every single cell in your body is made out of cholesterol. The cell membrane of every cell in your body is cholesterol. Nearly every hormone in your body is made out of cholesterol. Vitamin D is made out of cholesterol. Testosterone is made out of cholesterol. Estrogens, progestogens, cortisol, all the hormones made out of your in your adrenals, and all the steps in between. There are like 27 steps between cholesterol and testosterone. Every single one of those steps is an active hormone in your body. Every single one is made out of cholesterol. But we've said that cholesterol is bad for us. So let's do all these things to reduce our cholesterol. And bile is made out of cholesterol. That's one of the things that bile is made out of, including your brain, by the way. And so the idea was that you should eat soluble fiber to bind the bile, and this would lower your cholesterol. And it does. But is that a good thing? Well, no, actually, because all of those studies saying that cholesterol was bad for you have been shown to be fraudulent. And that's you guys can look at my my video that I did on YouTube and my podcast called "The Hard Facts About Cholesterol and Heart Disease." And I talk about all the studies and the hard evidence that shows that this was fraud. And I give the links in the description so you guys can you can check for yourself and see this is just a matter of record now that this was fraud. The USDA fraudulently claimed that cholesterol caused heart disease. We know that, and because we have the contract between the sugar companies and the head of the USDA, he was a professor at Harvard, and we know how much they got paid. We know how much the sugar companies paid this absolute monster to lie and falsify records and data and studies to make it look as if cholesterol caused heart disease when it was really sugar. They paid him $6,500 back in the 1960s. That's it. That's worth $50,000 in today's valuation. So that's what his soul was worth, and that's what the health of the world was worth to him. So when you have things based on a false preposition, you have to throw everything out and start from scratch. And so that's one of them. You say, oh, well, we need to eat fiber so that you can bind bile, so that you can reduce fat or reduce cholesterol. But cholesterol was not actually the problem that it was. Throw it out. So, if you're worried about your cholesterol, then sure, eat some fiber. You'll reduce your cholesterol. I am not worried about my cholesterol. In fact, the only worry that I have is that I don't have enough cholesterol, because it's actually super good for you. All the studies are showing that people with higher LDL cholesterol live longer, live healthier. And so I'm just fine keeping my bile because it's physiological and it's there to absorb fat, which is a necessary nutrient. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying this replay of my YouTube Live. If you'd like to catch a live version and ask your own questions, please go to the next scheduled one, usually every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, see you then, and please enjoy the rest of the Q&A. Question, what do you think about using coconut oil for its MCT, and is there any MCT found in animal products? Yeah, there's a lot of MCT. That's medium chain fatty acid, or medium chain triglycerides. So medium chain fatty acids. These are good. These are necessary for a lot of different things. Your body actually can absorb them pretty easily. Your body needs bile to absorb pretty much all fats except medium chain fatty acids. A lot of medium chain fatty acids. I don't know if it's all of them, but it does a good job at absorbing those otherwise. But the vast majority of fat goes out of your body unless you have bile to absorb it. I don't think you need coconut oil. I don't think you need any plant oil at all. I think that that you'll get everything you need from meat. You just eat naturally, and your body will do the rest. There are MCTs in meat. I don't know the exact proportion versus coconut oil, but I don't much care. There are other things in coconut oil and these plant oils like plant esters that what's it called? Basically plant cholesterols, and they sort of bind to these same things, and they replace some of the cholesterol. You don't absorb this cholesterol, and it sort of is like a mimic or an antagonist. So this is what people say. It's like, oh, you should eat these. You should eat almonds because, or these other sort of plant, plant cholesterols, because your body doesn't use them in the same way, and it sort of displaces cholesterol. But it's the same thing again. Cholesterol is not bad for you. You don't want to lower it, and so that's the thing. So it may have MCTs in it, but it's going to have things that you probably don't want. It's going to screw with your cholesterol and other sorts of things as well. So I don't have it anyway. If you want to, it's not as bad as like, other things like, olive oil, certainly like canola oil and all that sort of garbage. But I just stick with meat, fat, lard, all that stuff. From Jared, Dr. Kiltz mentioned in his interview with you about the glycobiome and glycobiology. Do you have anything to say about this topic? It was a bit over my head, and the resources that I can understand and find myself are rather scarce. I think that's a very interesting point to make. You do have a glycobiome, and this is and it's and you have this in a lot of other areas of your body. It's not just in your GI tract, and so this is sort of an intricate web of molecules that sort of have a sort of protective sheath and coating. And I don't know all the functions that it has. I'm sure it's quite a lot of them, but it's not something I've studied in too much detail. But it's an important part of your anatomy and your physiology and biology. So when you damage that and you damage that structure, like the glycocalyx and things like that, it's going to it's just going to mess with your physiology and the way that your body functions, and that's going to have untold sort of consequences as a result of that. And he was talking about all these different things in plants that absolutely terrorize the glycocalyx and your glycobiome. And I thought it was very interesting. It's definitely something I need to look into more as well, and to get more familiar with. But no, I don't have too much to add to that, because he knows just so much more than I do about that. So just check out his videos on that, and because that guy knows his stuff. Skipped again. So question is, any way to replace the fat in your body made from vegetable oils you ingested faster? I heard half-life of fat cells is around 4 to 5 years. Does this mean I have to wait 10-ish years to replace them? No, I don't think so. It's your body's replacing molecules all the time, and so you're going to be churning through and getting rid of sort of that the unhealthy bits of body and cell that you've had from before, and replacing with more healthy tissue and ingredients and structures. So no, I don't think it's going to take all that long. A lot of people are doing a lot better within months. You're gonna replace a lot of this stuff. I don't think you have to wait for your fat cells to die to then make new ones. I'm not too sure your fat cells actually do die, and I'm not too sure that you actually make them as well. It was my understanding that you make as many fat cells as you're ever going to have after in your adolescence, and then after that they just grow bigger, as opposed to multiplying, hypertrophy, and dividing. Maybe they do, but it was my understanding that at a certain point they become pretty permanent. But in any case, whatever it's doing, I don't think that you need to wait for them to die and grow new ones. You'll just replace those molecules and those fat stores that are in there. And then that'll be fine. That'll do that on its own. So just do your thing. Just do carnivore. Eat what you're supposed to eat. Your body will do the rest. Your body's amazing. There's just billions of chemical interactions going on in your body, every single millisecond. And so, just let it do its thing. It'll be fine. From Wendy, I was talking to my mom about my hair loss, and she said, remember, meat, especially beef, is high in alpha lipoic acid. They say that the only bad thing it does is make your hair very thinned out. Could this be a reason for hair loss? I don't know myself. I'm not familiar with that, but I don't know. I have noticed the exact opposite. I've noticed a lot of people the exact opposite. Most people, when they go carnivore, they come to me and go, "Oh my God, my hair has never been this good. My nails have never been this strong. My skin is so amazing." So I generally see the opposite of that. But that's not something that I've heard before, that there was a problem specifically with beef. But if she has any articles or any papers or anything like that that talks about that, I'd be very interested in reading them if you wanted to send them over. And I can take a look. What are my thoughts on using glycine as a sweetener? I've never used it. I don't, so I haven't really thought about it, is the short answer. Is glycine all that sweet? I don't know. Maybe it is. I just don't worry about sweeteners. I think meat just tastes good, and I think water tastes good. And I think when you start chasing these sweet flavors and sweet tastes, you just start becoming sort of mentally addicted to these things again, and you want that flavor and you chase that taste. And it's always these sayings like, when your expectations meet your reality, that's where happiness is, right? And when your reality exceeds your expectations, that's when you're really living a good life. But when your expectations far exceed your reality, that's when people get very upset. And so if you're constantly thinking like, "Oh, can I get something sweet? Can I get something this? We can use that as a sweetener. This is a sweetener. That's it." You're constantly, wanting something that isn't really going to be a good idea for you, and you're just going to be unhappy with it. I think that it's better to just really appreciate the food that's good for you, and just enjoy that. And that's what I do. So I make meat taste as good as I can. I age it, I prepare it, I do things in preparation to then have it be just unreal, amazing steak. And so I don't really worry about anything else. So I can't see anything necessarily wrong with using glycine as a sweetener. So if you want to try it, I guess, but I would try to just eat whole foods. I think that's always the best way to go, is just eating food as it comes and drinking water. There's a general question: how long before taking bloods should you stop taking any supplements to ensure that you get the picture of what you are naturally deficient in? Well, I mean, there's sort of a couple parts to that question. First of all, why are you taking the supplement? If you're taking the supplement because you're deficient, you want to be taking the supplement like the day before, because that will tell you what your levels are at with the supplement. If you want to just stop taking the supplement and see what you're doing normally, it depends on the supplement. It depends on what you're doing. If it's like a vitamin or a mineral, if it's fat soluble versus water soluble. But giving it a good sort of 6 to 8 weeks probably be perfectly fine for anything. And And so that's what you could do. If it's sort of water soluble things, you probably don't need to wait more than a couple weeks, but you can, if that's what you want to do, if you want to come up with supplements to see if you actually even need to take the supplements, which I think is a good idea. I think that you shouldn't take supplements unless you have a diagnosed deficiency in something. So yeah, you could try like 6 to 8 weeks off of the supplements and then check it from there. So there you go. And let's see. All right. So bodybuilding on carnivore, under 2,000 calories a day. Will my body fat be used to build, or do I need to eat more? About 35% body fat. I think you just, well, in those sorts of areas, I mean, you need to make sure you're getting enough fat, but you also need to make sure you're getting enough protein. And so I really hesitate when people are talking about like they eat this specific calorie, they have this specific caloric intake, because it's like, is that because that's what your body's telling you to do, or is that because that's what you're limiting yourself to? I think that even if you have excess fat, your body's still going to want a certain amount of nutrition. And yes, it will prioritize using your body fat first. And the problem with that is that if you eat too little, your body's going to just say, oh, hey, you know what? We need to store this. We need to pull this back because we're in a famine. And, we need to protect this, or we're going to die of starvation if we sort of burn through all of our nutrition and our calories. So yes, you do need to take in adequate protein and adequate fat. So you need to get those amino acids in, you need to get those proteins in to build muscle. But you also just need to eat enough, or your body is not going to really burn the fat, because it's not going to release the fat, because it's going to think that you're starving. So you need to be careful with that. And I would still just eat intuitively and just make sure you're getting enough protein and enough fat. Yeah, I agree with that. Christian said, as long as you're eating enough macros, fat, and protein, you don't need to worry about the number of calories. I agree with that. So Andy asks, any advice on inducing bowel movements, please? I have stopped getting them, so it's hard to go due to my very sedentary lifestyle because of illness. I eat high fat meat and eggs only. Well, I mean, how long is it going between each one? It's like, it's very normal to only go once a week and have there not be that much. And if you're not eating like a lot of gristle, then you're gonna go even less. Because you're going to absorb basically everything that you eat if you're not eating gristle, if you're only eating meat and you're not eating the gristle. So I would just be patient. If you're getting enough fat and your stools are soft, then you're not constipated. So it doesn't matter how long it takes before they go. I think people get very caught up in, oh, I have to go. Why do you have to go? Are you in pain? Is your stomach bloated? Are you vomiting? Have you stopped passing wind? Because those are all signs that you have, an obstruction. And then, oh my God, you need to go and you need to take a laxative and get this thing unblocked. But that's not happening. If your stomach's flat and you're not bloated and you're not in pain, why do you need to go? Eat enough fat, things will go. Trust me. And but I just don't worry about it. Is basically what you should be. Is the long and short of that. Thank you very much, Luis, for the super chat. It's very kind of you. 1 year on strict carnivore, 1 year old on strict carnivore, would long-term negative affect his insulin sensitivity? That if he chose not to do carnivore anymore when he grows up, would that be terrible for him? Absolutely not. That'd be the best thing that you ever did for him. That is my firm belief that humans really are carnivores. This is how we are designed. And when you eat what you're supposed to eat, especially when you're developing, you are going to develop better, stronger, larger, more intelligent. Your brain will be bigger and it will work better, right? Because it'll have better, stronger, faster connections. Okay. Those are all benefits of a carnivore diet, especially when you're developing. It's so important. And so I would definitely do that. And no, it's not going to affect his insulin sensitivity. This is something that's been going around. That's a bit silly. They think that they say, well, you have to eat carbohydrates because you have to have this metabolic flexibility and you have to sort of go back and forth. That's not the case. You can. This is all derived from some studies that showed that if you're not eating carbohydrates for a long period of time, and then you do a glucose tolerance test, which is how they test for diabetes and insulin resistance, that you take that glucose tolerance, glucose hit, right? Big sugary drink, and you all of a sudden your glucose spikes, right? Your blood sugar spikes because your body's not able to handle it. You're like, oh my God, this person's diabetic. Oh, they just can't handle it. Keep doing it because in a couple of days it's dead normal. And in fact, they have better control because your body is more sensitive to the insulin. What's happening physiologically, and this is something that Professor Bickman relayed to me, was that when you don't eat carbohydrates, when you're eating carbohydrates, your body actually preloads your pancreas with ready-made insulin because it's expecting that next hit of sugar, right? Of carbs. And so it's just ready to go because high blood sugar is deadly. It's toxic. And so your body's just like, okay, no, we got to be ready for this. Attack is coming. We got to be there. And so when you're eating carbs, it just hits it out there. Fine. When you're not doing that, your body's like, oh, thank God, we can just be normal. And then all of a sudden a bunch of glucose comes in. Your body, oh, okay, all right. So it makes the glucose and it takes a while for that to catch up. But then when you keep doing that, then it just it will start preloading your pancreas with insulin. So after a couple of days, you're actually better off than other people that are just eating carbs all the time. So no, it's not bad for him. No, it will not screw with his insulin sensitivity. I think it's absolutely the best thing you could do for your kid, and that's exactly what I will be doing with my kids when I have them. 100%. There will not be a single plant product in my house and in a 10-mile radius if I can help it. Yami asks, and thank you very much, Yami, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Any reason I'm getting bloated on a carnivore diet? I eat OMAD after weight training, then drink water. How do I fix this? That's a good question. I mean, I need to know a few other things. I need to know exactly what you're eating and exactly when you're eating it as well. How long you've been doing this. The background you come from previously, if you're having any dairy, if you're having fruit or honey or any of those sorts of things, any fiber at all will make you bloated. Coffee, all these things will mess with your digestion. So generally people have the opposite issue with that, or not even an issue. They have the opposite phenomena, which is they never get bloated and all of their bloating stops. So I would start with that. If you're eating anything besides just meat, eggs, and water, then I would stop eating those things and just stick with meat and water. And if you're, and another thing too is that if you're eating a big meal and you're eating until you're full, and then you drink a bunch of water, you're just going to feel physically too full. So I tend to not drink water sort of within an hour or two before and after I eat, because I want my stomach to be empty, so that my body says, like, this is how much food I want, and then you let it digest, and you keep the stomach acids and digestive enzymes in their true potency, and then you get the digestion that you want, and then after that you drink the water and things like that. So I would try that, just sort of troubleshooting. But yeah, I would need to know a bit more about that to give you more specific advice. So I eat deer meat and beef in the morning. Doing it since January. No dairy. I do dry fast during the day. Okay. and absolutely nothing else. Hmm. Well, oh, hey, Claudia from Ventura. Very nice to see you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I love Ventura. I haven't been there in freaking years though. Well, yeah, I don't, I don't know, tried without water and haven't seen a difference really. So the bloating is you feel that you have a distended abdomen and that it's uncomfortable and you're getting, gas and bloating and things like that. Is that what you're describing, or what sort of, what are you feeling? What are you calling bloating? Is it just sort of pain and discomfort? Is it a sharp pain? Could you have an ulcer? Um, Things like that, because it is quite uncommon. And if you're just eating meat, which it sounds like you're doing everything right, then it's a bit of a mystery. There might be something else going on, like stomach upset, like gastritis, um, or maybe an ulcer or something like that. Something that when you eat, you end up bothering yourself by doing that. And Luis, thank you very much. Super chat, Luis, my favorite carnivore guy. Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, well, thank you. Appreciate it. Um, yes, it's visually bloated and it feels very uncomfortable. No pain, just very tight. That's very odd. That is very, very odd. Something's not agreeing with you, right? So I would just change up what you're eating. Try things that aren't doing that to you. You can try eating later in the day. I certainly feel better when I don't eat in the morning. That's just me. So maybe you could try that, just or not eating as much, and eating different things. I would just play around with it, because that's abnormal. Most people have the opposite issue. So I would try that. Obviously, get rid of any plant that exists in your life, any dairy that exists in your life, anything besides just raw or whole meat and water, and then play around with it and try different meats and see if something's not reacting. Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys. So JC Spade said, I asked you a question on Twitter about, sorry, I'm not really on Twitter as much. I'm trying to get more active there, but I find it a harder interface. Like you're trying to go into like you see that people have commented on your post and you try to go in there and it doesn't actually show you the comments that they made. And it's like, I'm sure there is a way of doing that, but I haven't found it. And then it just goes down some weird other little rabbit hole, and there's like threads on threads on threads, and like this comment, and then people comment on that comment, but it doesn't stay in the same comment thread. It just goes down as a different track. I think I'm sure there's an easy way of dealing with it that I just don't know about, but for not knowing about it, it's not as intuitive as I would like, and it really kind of bugs me. So I haven't used it that much. But he asked, I've been taking green tea tablets for over 25 years and feel it's been a game changer in my life. Is green tea okay for us? I love everything carnivore. I look, it may confer a benefit when you're eating other things. I don't, but it's also going to have things that are harmful to you. That's just the nature of plants. And so I think it would probably benefit you to come off of it if you're on a carnivore diet. Maybe it makes you feel better when you're eating other things, and that sort of all mixes together, and on the whole you feel better adding that in when you're in that situation. But if you're just eating meat, I don't think you need it, and I think that it will have things with it that cause harm. Caffeine alone that's an insecticide. That's what that plant designed that for millions and millions and millions of years ago, long before humans came around. So I would be hesitant to use that, and so I don't use that or any other plants. And but you can try. You can just try coming off it for a month and see how you go. And if you think that it adds something to your life, then fine. I think that it will probably detract more than anything. So Senator McGuire, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Is a real senator? I don't know. Tell me. Looking for recommendations on ending my Pepsi addiction. Drinking 1 liter a day. Everything else is water and beef. Carnivore for 12 months, lost 60 pounds. Awesome. Very good. Weight is stable. Thank you for the vids from Las Vegas. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining in. Yeah. So, I mean, that, it is an addiction, right? So like caffeine is addictive and sugar is very addictive. So these are things that are going to, compound the problem and work together to make it difficult to stop. But, that's a lot, that's a lot of sugar. It's a lot of caffeine, and there's a lot of other chemical, slop in there that you really don't want as well. I think you could try weaning down and just, limit yourself to sort of half a liter a day for a week or two, and then down to, just 1 Pepsi a day, like a 12-ounce can of Pepsi a day, and then you just stop. I'm sort of like I don't really do things in half measures myself. And so usually I feel better. I stop. I've made a decision. You have it in your head. I'm just going to stop. Another thing is that if you're having cravings, like sugar cravings, carb cravings, that if you just eat fatty meat, sometimes that can help suppress the urges and the cravings. And so just like when you're like, oh, I really want a Pepsi, have some eggs, or have some beef. Really, yeah, beef. Usually you do beef and water, which is awesome. That's definitely the way to go. Looks like you're doing great. You've lost 60 pounds. You're keeping your weight stable. That's awesome. I think you'll increase your your results and how good you feel by getting rid of the Pepsi as well. So make a plan and stick to it. So it's one of the 2 ways: either half a liter for the next week, drop down to 1 can for a week, and then stop, or just stop right now. And but mark it on your calendar. Whatever you do, write it down, write in your calendar, say, this is what I'm going to do. These are the days I'm going to do it. And then you just do it. It takes a bit of doing, but all addictions will end. And eventually that chemical addiction will go away. It's usually about 2 weeks for caffeine. You can get headaches and be symptomatic for a few days. It generally doesn't last more than a week. And then you don't even really get the cravings after about 2 weeks. Sugar can be 2 to 3 weeks. For me, it was about 2 weeks. That was about it. Most people find that as well. Some people have cravings and sort of really sort of want it longer than that, and so you just have to be mindful of that. But you need to stay strong. Also, remember, if you're getting cravings, it could be your brain just telling you that you're hungry, especially after the chemical addiction, after those sort of 2 weeks are gone, because sometimes we just don't eat enough on a carnivore diet because our hunger signals are different and we haven't relearned them yet. We haven't paid attention to them enough. And so sometimes it just goes, your hunger signals sort of come in as cravings. Your brain's just saying, hey, get energy, And so just remember that. And so if you're having cravings going forward, just remember that could be what that is, and just try eating meat first and drinking water and things like that. Hopefully that helps. So Charlie asks, I've been suffering with chronic sinusitis for the last 3 years, and I have had a number of surgeries. I'm a month into carnivore, still having a lot of issues with inflammation. Do I just give it time? Definitely give it time. It takes a long time to clear your body of all these problems. You can have a problem with inflammation and like just reading that gave me a runny nose. You can have problems with inflammation, but it goes away. It does go away. Pathological inflammation goes away. Absolutely does. But all these issues take time, and chronic sinusitis is an absolute beast to get rid of. It's it can get into the bone and just sort of just sit there and just keep coming back and keep coming back. So you just need to be mindful of that. And but going carnivore is going to help your body. It's going to help your immune system. And if you need some extra help with like antibiotics and things like that to clear it, then they'll work better anyway. So yeah, just keep doing what you're doing and just give it time and let your body heal. And hello from Texas. Hey, how you doing? American 1020. Carnivorous 4 months in. Let's go. Awesome. Good job. I bet you're feeling awesome at the moment. That's like sort of like the sweet period where you're just coasting and feeling your best. So that's great. Barico says no more diabetic, no more hypertension, no more migraines, no more sinusitis. The list goes on. Awesome. That's absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So I love seeing that, where it's just, people's lives are just getting so much better. And that's really, really good to see. So I'm glad to see that. Yeah. So Nick says, a few months ago, I was having cravings so bad at nighttime that I would leave my house to go to the grocery store to get ice cream at 9 p.m. Slamming meat at night was the only thing that helped. So I think that's a very, very useful comment and illustration that this can be, very benefited by just eating meat, and that sometimes your brain's just saying, get something. And look, I've been there. I actually remember sort of my late teens, early 20s, thinking it's just like, oh my God, I just need something sweet. I need some ice cream. I need something, and like going off and getting something like that. And it's weird. You have this weird compulsion. You just have to get it, and then you just eat meat, and it goes away. So I don't know if it's the sugar addiction that's doing that, or your brain is screaming at you to get some fat, because everyone was eating low fat forever because that's just what we were told to do. I always have the sniffles. Doesn't the carnivore fix that? I have the sniffles because I've broken my nose hundreds and hundreds of times in rugby over the course of a decade and a half. So that's just my face is broken, unfortunately. So I've had 3 surgeries just so I could breathe properly, because the cartilage is just so broken and tangled up inside my face, because I just kept playing. I kept playing with broken nose. Bone was split from here up to my eye socket, and it was flat on the side of my face. It just busted it back into place. I had to do that. I did that on the side of the field a few times, and I've gone to the ER, and they've broken it back in and stuck a tuning fork up my nose, broke it back into place, and then had 3 surgeries to fix the cartilage and the bone, because that's what I did to myself, because I wasn't willing to stop. I wasn't willing to stop playing. I just just wanted to get out there and do it. And so because I had a full on openly broken bone and broken cartilage, I was a very, very, very physical player. Like, I lived for the contact and the collisions. Like, I just tried to blow people up. And so, I figured out early on that if you hit someone harder than they hit you, they take all the punishment. And so it's just a matter of just intelligence, just to be the hitter and not the hittee. And when I was smaller than people, and like playing in senior leagues when I was 17, people were twice my size, and so I had to just really rev up the intensity and the velocity, because think of your kinetic energy equations. It's 1/2 mass times velocity squared, right? Well, I didn't have the mass, but velocity counts for a lot more. So I was like, great, all right, I'll just crank up that velocity up into absolute highest that I can, and just waste into somebody. And so that's what I did. And so people that were twice my size, I just blow them up. And then when I started growing into my frame and getting bigger and getting heavier and being one of the bigger guys out there, I still had that mentality of just trying to just destroy people. And, so it made for some big, big collisions, and which was fun. It was fun to do, and fun for people to watch. And but because of doing that, I'm just shattering my face, all over the place. But yes, I always do have the sniffles because it's not always, but if I get like a little bit of allergies or something like that, it's very easy to do it because my nose just doesn't clear properly. JV highlights. I wish I had them. I have some highlight tapes. A lot of them just got because it was like I was doing most of this like before things were really big on the internet, with people putting a bunch of clips and things like that on there. And a lot of games, especially like the US games, like they just didn't get recorded. A lot of these games didn't get recorded, and so there were a lot of things actually on the internet for a while, and then I remember checking them, a few years ago, and I just couldn't really find it for whatever sites they were on. They'd just been taken off. They weren't like on. I don't think they're on YouTube, not under my name anyway. I don't think. But yeah, so there used to be a lot more than there are now. But yeah, I don't know whatever websites had them up. They're not maybe not in use anymore. I don't know. So Keto Elite reversed their prediabetes, arthritis, carpal tunnel, tinnitus, and tinnitus is getting better. Cognitive function is skyrocketing. Awesome. And thanks to all your wonderful content, I am sharing it with everyone. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm really glad that it's helping and that you're having such good results. And I appreciate you sharing things up with people, and hopefully it helps them as well, which I'm sure it will. Carson has Hashimoto's. When to taper off the L-thyroxine. That should be dictated by your blood tests. So it will happen. Your Hashimoto's will get better. Hashimoto's can take a little longer than other things. It takes longer than Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. However, it does happen. It does get better. And just be patient with it, but check your bloods. And if you're feeling a bit jittery and like you're having too much thyroid medication, then that's the time to get another blood test and say, hey, what is this doing? Another good marker is reverse T3. You can get your doctor to ask for a reverse T3. That shows better, gives you a better idea of the intracellular function of the thyroxine, of the thyroid hormone. So because that's again where this thing functions is inside the cell, not in your serum. So getting a reverse T3 can show you exactly how functional the thyroid medication you're taking is. But yeah, so that should be guided by your doctor and your blood tests. Charging more. So you said you responded to my request for an interview a couple of times, but never got a response. Maybe the email systems have failed. That is interesting. I do remember getting your email, and I thought I replied. So I'm sorry about that. I will get on that right away and reply, but definitely want to get you on a podcast. That would be awesome. What are my thoughts on egg whites? I don't have a problem with them. A lot of people don't have a problem with them. Some people do. And so, especially people with autoimmune issues. A lot of people with autoimmune issues, for some reason, have problems with egg whites. And so if you're having a little issue, you're having some little skin issues or rashes or full-on autoimmune issues, take out the egg whites, see what that does for you. Most people with autoimmune issues really just need to stick to like grass-fed red meat, as close as they can anyway. Grain-finished red meat being, again, silver medal, but red meat anyway. So where do I announce these live chats? Normally I do these on, normally I do these for Patreon. And so actually today was supposed to be a Patreon one, and it wasn't actually working. And so I had to restart it and re-go. And I actually meant to have it be just from people that had a link and not have it be a general one. But I ended up not hitting the correct one because I am a useless person at this sort of stuff, because I'm just sort of trying to figure it out as I go. And this ended up being just a general live. So that's how that happened. But normally I do these every week for my Patreon group, which is just Anthony Chaffee MD, and people can sign up there. And I do lives every week or twice a week, really. And then I post my videos there early, and we have Discord groups and chat groups there, just with our community. And we do we start up like a book club and things like that to read different sorts of things that help bring more information to this space of health and nutrition. And I think the next month we're going to be reading Nina Teicholz's book, The Big Fat Surprise, which is I think is very going to be very interesting. I haven't read it yet myself, but it's from the bits of it I've seen, it's absolutely packed with information and studies and historical data on how ridiculous this whole idea of fat being bad for us was. So CJ saying they are, I don't know if, sorry, CJ, I don't know if you're a guy or a girl, I apologize. They are obese, high cholesterol, HBP, high blood pressure, I'm assuming, type 2 diabetes and thyroid. What do you advise? I would advise eating nothing but red meat and only drinking water and letting your body heal, because all of those issues are caused by having eating the wrong things. High cholesterol, in your case, probably is bad because it's damaged cholesterol from the sugars and other toxins. But if your cholesterol sort of changes a bit, as long as your HDL is going up and your triglycerides are going down, then don't worry about anything else. But you need to be strict red meat and water, really for the rest of your life, but at least for the next 2 years, so that you can really just get rid of this stuff, or at least the next year. And then you can make your decisions from there. If you want to start eating the things that got you back in that place in the first place, then that's your business. But that's how you get rid of that, is you stop eating the things that put you there and you start eating the things that your body actually needs, which is fatty meat and water. And Mad Max, hey, thank you, Max. I really appreciate the super chat. Very generous of you. Thank you. Great info, Doc, and thank you for your time. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys all for taking your time out to watch my live. If you want to do more of these, then check out my Patreon page. It's just Anthony Chaffee MD. We do these every week. We do these twice a week generally, and we do a lot more than that as well. And so hopefully we can get a lot more of these lives going as well. I can't do the public lives all that often, just for time commitments, but I always make it a point to do this with my Patreon groups and answer all the questions that they have. So yeah. So all right, thanks guys. I do have to wrap up because I've got another appointment. I'm doing sort of a live thing with it's like a sort of an interview sort of thing with CrossFit USA. We're doing like a project where we're working with sort of two groups of people, and there's like a carnivore group, and they're exercising and checking all their metabolic markers and things like that. And I'm helping them coach that. And then we're doing like a thing tonight. And so that starts in sort of the next sort of 10, 15 minutes. So I got to go get ready for that. But people can go check that out. If you go to CrossFit USA on Instagram, there's some links there, and you can come check that out. And then we'll do some more lives another time. And hopefully everyone liked that. I will answer this because Hack Night Tide did sort of get this one in under the buzzer. Thank you very much for the super chat. Should we be worried about bacon? My girlfriend thinks pork is poisoning me, and I source all my pork from a local farm. No, pork is not poisoning you. There have been no confirmed cases of trichinosis in the pig, farmed pig in America in over 20 years. And I would imagine that's the same in other Western countries as well. Bacon can have sugar added, so just look at the packet and just see if it has any sugar added, or maple bacon. Obviously, that's going to have sugar added. But if it's just naturally cured bacon without sugar, like I know Pedersen Farms does, sugarless bacon, and so you can get that. But yeah, no, the pig and pig fat is not bad for you. Okay, Wild Bill. Well, thank you very much, Wild Bill. He said, thank you, Anthony. You've helped my ankylosing spondylitis tremendously, among other things. Cheers. That's awesome. That's something that I really like to see. That's a nasty, nasty issue. I actually have a friend of mine that I work with in neurosurgery. He suffers from that as well, and I've been really hopeful that he sort of takes this on himself and fixes his issues. But I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to like push this down, ram people down throats. They know what I think. They know that I think that eating meat's the best way to go and can reverse a lot of issues. And if they want help with that, I'll be happy to work with them. But I don't want to be preachy and pushy and things like that, because that's not the right way to do it either. But yeah, that's awesome, Bill. I'm really glad to hear that. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate you guys coming on. I really appreciate the super chats. That's really kind of you guys. If you want to do more of these lives with us, we do them weekly or twice weekly with my Patreon group. Again, Anthony Chaffee, MD, and we do weekly Zoom lives on Sundays as well for tier 2 and above, and where people can come in and interact and talk as well. So, all right, guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day or night. Yeah. Hit the wrong button again next time, please. Okay. I will try to do more open lives as well, but it's difficult with my timing. But anyway, all right, guys, thank you very much. We'll see you. Your pancreas is going to be working no matter what you eat. So you might as well eat the thing that's actually good for you and is going to reduce inflammation, like fat. And the carbs are going to increase inflammation, and even just because that causes metabolic distress, it raises insulin, that causes inflammation. The different plants cause inflammation.